vibration. So what must be happening is that you are not quite yet consciously aware of what your vibrational offering is, which is a problem that so many have. They don't realize what they're offering vibrationally. But it's helpful to just begin saying, everything's coming in response to my vibration, so I want to know what my vibration is. And then that confusion will go away.
But when, say, for example, I think I would like to do something, and then this thing manifests immediately, and I think, wait a minute, I'm not ready to do that yet. And then I don't do it, and then maybe after a while I think, now I'm ready to do it. And then it doesn't happen.
Well, here's what happens. When you identify a desire, whether you are really aware of it or not, when you begin offering a vibration about it, the manager lines it up and yields it to you. And then, as you look at it and you say, oh, wait a minute, I've got a tiger by the tail here. It's coming too fast. I'm not really ready for that. Then you begin to introduce some resistance into it. And when you begin to introduce some resistance, then it slows down. Or maybe you make another choice. You say, I want not that, I want this instead. Everything is always coming in response to whatever it is you are giving your attention to. And then what happens as you say, well, now I'm ready, why won't it come? Now your attention is upon it not coming. That's what trips most people up. They will stand here and not be happy about where they're standing. And they'll say, I want to be over there. And if you talk to them about why they want to be over there, they'll mostly tell you about what they don't like here. So their vibration is more about where they are than about where they want to be. And that's what's happening to you. Oh, it is so wonderful when you really get it. That what's manifesting or what is coming to you is always a perfect vibrational match to your vibration. It's sort of like you've got your hands on the steering wheel, which means you get to choose where you're going, and you've got your foot on the accelerator, too. You get to choose how fast you go, you get to choose where you go. So if something is unfolding too fast, we watch Jerry and Esther. They are so energetic. They are so joyful in their work. They are so inspired. And for years, Jerry has been editing the tapes for the weekly tape program. And then Esther bought a computer program and has been recording right into the computer, and now Esther is joyously involved in the editing process. Well, that leaves Jerry with free time that he has not had before. And in that free time, his mind is going to all kinds of new projects, which is making their life busier than it's ever been before, because they can't seem to facilitate things as fast as Jerry can think them up. When you allow your thoughts to flow, the universe immediately begins to respond. In other words, you can hardly think a thought in a pure form that the universe does not give you movement around it, which often makes you feel that then you need to offer a response of action. And when you are really open and allowing things to flow, sometimes more action seems to be required of you than you have the physical time or desire to offer. And we say, no problem. What happens is you go, arg, I want not that. You feel the contrast, and another rocket of desire is born out of that. I'm wanting things to be slower. I'm wanting things to be smoother. I'm wanting more to help me facilitate all of this. And out of that next rocket of desire, as soon as you get focused there, then the universe yields that to you. It's about finding the balance, you see. And only when you are paying attention to the way you feel can you find the balance. Now let us demonstrate that just a little more clearly. Watch Jerry and Esther working until their tongues were hanging out, almost to the point of not having very much fun. So they took a 3-day vacation and went to their favorite place and laid on the sand and laid on the rocks at the cove, big, beautiful, sunning rocks, laid there in the sun. And Esther said, I could stay here forever. And Jerry did not reply, but he is thinking, I can stay here today. But he was wrong. He didn't even make it till 10 o'clock. In other words, they laid there, they basked, they refreshed, they rejoiced, they reconnected, they found their balance, and then soon Jerry's fingers are sort of thumping on the rock. Esther's got her ear on the pillow and she can hear his thumping on the rock. And she is looking over at him, not wanting him to know she is awake. She knows that something's up. And then in a minute, he's sitting up. And now she hears him rifling through her purse. He's trying to find something to write on. And now he's off on now his free-flowing mind is off on the next project. And off they go again. And so that's why we say to you, you have this triad of intentions. The basis of your life is freedom. You are so free you can choose bondage if you choose. If your goal is to feel joy and you've attracted things faster than you can cope, then your joy factor diminishes and you can feel that you're out of balance. And so as you then reach for the joy factor, you're choosing different things that sort of slow things down. If you choose different things that slow things down too much, now you begin to feel like your fingers are thumping on the rock. Now you begin to feel like there's more that you want to apply. And so as you turn your thoughts toward those joyful thoughts, the universe yields to you and things speed up. As things get going too fast and joy factor is what is important to you, then you begin to feel your joy factor diminish. You getting a sense of how this works? By paying attention to the way you feel, you can always keep yourself in perfect balance.
Somehow it seems to me that if the universe manifests this right away, it seems to me that my timing is off by not taking advantage of it when it happens, when it's easy. And then the next time around, it's hard.
Well, here's the thing. The universe will yield it to you today, tomorrow, and forever. In other words, the universe will keep yielding it to you. It keeps coming. You can never show up at the dock and miss your boat, because your boat will come again and again and again and again and again and again. Everything that you desire, and we are going to speak this bluntly and literally, the manager called Law of Attraction has orchestrated hundreds, if not thousands, of circumstances and events to accommodate the exactness of your desire. And if you're not ready for it when it first shows up, it will be there again and again and again and again and again. Because law of attraction is not like your mother or some physical entity that is wanting to punish you for not being ready faster. There's not any of that. Oh, yeah, she asked but wasn't ready. Now, just let her wait. It's all about your readiness or your allowing. And so we can see how you've been trained by others who have said, when dinner is served, be here and eat. And if you don't want to eat when dinner is served, then you'll be hungry until the next meal. And you sort of think that the universe is treating you like that, but it isn't. Jerry and Esther, looking for a FedEx truck, went right to the place. They found it instantly, and they were so proud. Oh, look at this. We found the FedEx drop-off place with hardly any trouble at all, because they'd had trouble on other occasions, and it was fun to find it so fast. And not only was it a place that they could drop off their FedEx package, but the man that was picking it up was right there right now. And Esther said, boy, is that not wonderful timing. Look at that. We rendezvoused right with the guy, right in exactly the same moment. Put it right in his hands. How good is that? Then they went to the hotel. Another FedEx truck was at the hotel. Then they went out to dinner, and another FedEx truck was at the restaurant. And it occurred to Esther, oh, that rendezvous that I was crowing about was not the last rendezvous. In other words, the universe had endless backups lined up for her, and always does. Always does.
My next question is, I seem to have my life full of clutter. I don't seem to be able to let go of papers and clothes and things that no longer serve me. And it's not only papers and clothes, but it's sort of like my physical elimination. I breathe in, I don't exhale. And
we wouldn't worry about that.
And I feel that it's all one kind of thing. You're sort of like taking in and not letting out.
Well, let's start with the word clutter. Let's change the terminology. I have things in my life that I very much wanted that came to me easily. Isn't that a nice thing?
Yeah.
And now as I evaluate, there are things in my experience that aren't pleasing me in the way they once did. In fact, the overabundance of them is sort of in my way. So now I am seeking fewer of them and more clear space. So now you've launched another rocket of desire. Have you spent any time imagining that clearer space, or are you embroiled in the clutter? Do you just move around in the clutter, or have you imagined a clearer space?
I have, but not as much as imagining the clutter.
You see, you're doing the same thing that almost everybody does. You're letting the reality that has actualized get more of your attention than what you desire. And that's normal. It's easier to turn on the television and observe and have feeling responses to what you're seeing than it is to close your eyes and create your own scenario. And so you're just letting your reality dominate your vibration. You can pick and choose more selectively. In other words, there's a lot of things that you have wanted and attracted into your experience that are still serving you really, really well. In fact, 97.5% of what you have attracted into your experience is still serving you extremely well. We think that you are giving yourself too much trouble over the small percentage of it that you would now like to move on through. We would encourage that you go to a office supply store and buy some banker's boxes. And the only reason that we are encouraging the banker's boxes is because the lids come off easily and they are all uniform in size. Get 20 of them or 40 of them, depending upon the degree of clutter you have, and number them from 1 to 20. And then put a bunch of them in the middle of the room that is most important to you. We would call that the room where the clutter has been bothering you the most. And stand in the middle of the room and look at items and say to yourself, is this important to me in the next 2 months? And if it is, leave it right where it is. And if it isn't, put it in box number 1 and speak into a recorder, red bikini with the very skinny spaghetti straps, box number 1. And then go to the next thing and go to the next thing and go to the next thing. The magic of this is that because you are not trying to sort them, you're not trying to archive them, you're not trying to necessarily remember them, you're just putting them in the box and noting where you put it, putting them in the box and noting where you put it. And then some evening when you are looking for something fun to do, you can listen to your recording and write it on index cards and put it in red bikini box number 1, binoculars that only work in the dark, box number 2, screwdriver that I never found a screw that fit, box number 3. In other words, whatever it is. And now put those boxes outside of put them into your garage on one wall, or put them into one room that you don't use very much on one wall, giving yourself the reassurance that if there is anything that you need, you can easily retrieve it, but it is out of your line of sight, and it is giving you the freedom of space. And if you're absolutely sure about it, put it in the trash can. But we would say the majority of the stuff that you've accumulated, because at one time it seemed important, and because in most cases it cost money, it is hard for you to just release it from your experience, because it feels like you might need it someday, or somebody you know might need it, you see. And so that's sort of where you get bogged down. Then after 6 months, ask yourself, have I opened box number 1? And if you haven't, then do something else with box number 1. Put it to a further removed place, or give it away altogether, and then go through your index, and everything that says box number 1, put a big line through it, which means it's gone from my experience now. And what you will discover in very short order is that you could go through your entire life of clutter, and in less than 2 or 3 days, you could bring yourself to order. The thing that keeps most of you from doing that is every time you start it, you get too bogged down in the process of coordinating it. It feels to you like you should put all things of this nature in one specific place, but then it turns out there's only 2 of those things, and so you have a box that only has 2 things in it, and then you have this other thing that there are 100 of them, far more, and so you don't know how to label it, and even if you did label it, you didn't know what you did with it afterward, where this process will help you to know exactly where everything you don't need is.
But what do you do with the printed word? For example, I tear out sheets that have to do with health and healing and gardening and all sorts of things. And when I start to go through folders of these, I always get caught up with them, and I start reading them, and I think, gee, this is interesting. And, you know, it's sort of like I can...
Well, that's the fun of clearing your clutter in this fast way. So you say, article box number 1, article box number 1. So you're just putting it all in box number 1, and then you're thinking to yourself, at some later date, if I'm interested, I can go back and put this in some sort of order. In other words, I can put it under headings of health and gardening. But for now, I know I've got it all in one place. And that way you don't get bogged down in the process of it. The majority of it, you will never go back and read again. And even if you go back and read it, it's not what you thought it was. In other words, it was there for you when you first attracted it. The thing that is behind this is that you all keep forgetting that the universe will keep yielding to you. So you say, I thought I needed this once, so I have to carry it around with me forevermore in case I need it again. And we say, if you need it again, the universe will yield it to you again, only in a more succinct and appropriate way to where you are now. Because as you keep asking the question evolves, and the answer will evolve too. That article won't keep evolving. It was the answer to where you were then, you see. And so what we would encourage you to do about all of that is throw it away joyously, and as you throw each piece away, say, thank you. You were there when I attracted you the first time. You'll be there whenever I want you again.